let's go ahead and add some power and some performance to the RB200. I'm going to be adding 3 things in this video. Step 1, we're going to be taking a look at a torque converter and getting the most out of our top speed. B, we're going to be looking at the governor removal and getting the most out of our engine that we can out of the power that is there. Bink, and step 7, we're actually going to be putting on a stage 1 kit with a header and an air filter, and I will show you the tools, the parts, and the performance upgrades that you get from it with top speeds. Let's go ahead and throw a baseline measurement in. Let's start with out of the box top speed. Tillotson and a Predator, both 212cc engines. Doing an intro, I'm doing an intro now. Isn't it neat? Doing an intro, cause I'm doing an intro now. Look at my feet.
I like mini bikes. I need more mini bikes. So seriously though, this is one of the most comfortable mini bikes that you can get on the market today. It is a very comfortable ride. It is a very nice ride.
Well, it wasn't that interesting. Let's pull back the throttle stop screw. The throttle stop screw is what really limits the engine from revving up to where the governor does kick in. We'll get to governor removal later on in this video, but right now let's just take a look at what top speed you're going to get with the throttle stop screw pulled back. Now that we got the throttle stop screw pulled back, you may feel the surging in the engine, and that's the governor kicking in. We're going to add our torque converter right off the bat. Personally, I think that if you add the torque converter first, you're going to get the most out of your mini bike. So if you don't have all the money to put into the stage 1 kit and the torque converter and the risers and this and that, all your mini bike upgrades, I'm going to say, let's start out with the torque converter. All right, let's take a look at the tools that we need to get that riser made and that torque converter in place. What we're going to be looking at here is a metal file, a chain breaker right here. Safety glasses are a big recommendation. Well, safety shield of some sort is going to be a high recommendation. Hacksaw or another cutting tool. I switched over to a metal grinder, and with the metal grinder you want some hearing protection. 2 9/16 inch wrenches, 8mm, 10 millimeter, 12 millimeter, and then to actually adjust the chain tensioners on the back after we put the new chain in, a 14 and a 17 millimeter. 3/8 inch drill bit, and what I'm going to recommend is that you take a look at step drill bits. I like preserving them with a little bit of engine oil on the tip, just so they don't heat up and wear out. Bink! Now a little bit of a tip right here is going to be a magnetic reach. I love using a little magnetic reach on the end of a bolt or a nut to be able to place things exactly where I want when I'm aligning things. Permanent marker. Spray paint. A light colored spray paint is going to be great to mark holes so you get more accuracy in your drilling. Yes, I'm going to be giving you some measurements throughout this video for how to set up the riser or this, that, or the other. Double check your measurements. When the frame comes, it's not going to be exact. Put your risers in place. Put the engine on the risers. Line everything up with the torque converter. Make sure the chain's aligned. Use a little bit of spray paint just through the edges. A little bit of fine dusting. You can see your holes more easily. But double check your measurements just in case something on one of the parts that you ordered is a little bit different from what I'm working with here. And then the last thing we'll need is a ruler. Let's get moving forward and take a look at the parts that you need. And then we'll go right into making the riser, putting it on the mini bike, and taking a look at the top speed and the gains that we get from that. All right, let's take a look at the parts. And I'm going to cover these two as well because a lot of people will be asking about them. Parts that you need to actually put the torque converter on. The torque converter itself, what I'm going to be working with here is a 3/4 inch shaft. Now, with the 3/4 inch shaft, you'll want a 420, 41, 420, 40 chain sprocket on that guy, and it's going to be a 30 series torque converter, which is coming up to the first question. The other Coleman, the other larger Coleman bikes use a 16 millimeter 5/8 inch shaft, and you need to get one of these, which is an adapter. And The other Coleman mini bikes as well have a lot more space inside of the frame, and you can use this guy. This is an OMB warehouse riser, and that riser helps put the torque converter in the proper place. You will not need this shaft adapter. The riser will work, however, you are going to have to do some custom drilling either on the riser plate or on the mini bike itself. The riser plate has to be moved back 1/2 inch from where the current holes are, and then moved over by 1/2 inch to the left to be able to align the chain properly. You can only use a riser plate like this if you have the stage 1 kitting already in. Vic, all right, let's take a look at everything that you need for the sort of universal method. We're going to be looking at 2 feet of 1 1/4 inch steel. Now this is a plated steel perforated tubing, and there are holes drilled every 1 inch. We're going to be looking at a new chain. The chain that comes with the mini bike is about 6 links too short. 3/8 inch by 1 1/4 inch bolt with a crush washer and a nut. 3/8 inch by 1 inch with a crush washer and a nut. You're going to need 4 sets of each. The shorter, the 1 inch bolts are going to be securing your riser to the mini bike, and then the 1 1/4 inch is going to be securing the engine to the riser. All right, let's take a look at putting those risers in place and that torque converter right on our mini bike and get some gains from that. So I do not actually remove the throttle linkage, but I do take off the 2 wire clips on the front, and then I can just kind of pivot the engine out of the way. Bink, so here we have our measurements of where we need to move that engine inside of the frame to make sure everything works out all right. We need to bring that engine 15/16 inch forward. Why we have to move it forward is because the muffler is going to be coming in contact with the frame if we don't move it forward when we move it up. And we have to move it up to get the torque converter in place. We're going to be looking at a 1 1/4 inch riser in order to make sure that our torque converter, our CVT, the pulley guard doesn't actually hit against the frame itself. So we need to get that riser in place. Then we need to work on chain alignment. We're going to be moving things 1/2 inch to the left when you're sitting on the mini bike. Now again, double check your chain alignment and chain alignment needs, but these are the overall dimensions that I've worked with, and we can get a stock engine in there, the engine that comes with the mini bike, or we can even get in a Predator swapped engine in there if you don't want your headlight, or something happens to the engine, it blows up. Anything in the future, these risers will work with a Predator swapped engine. This will actually work with the stage 1 kit as well. Tight fitting, very tight fitting, and you do not want your muffler to touch your frame. Do not let your muffler touch the frame. All right, let's take a look at the actual risers themselves. Now the risers are going to be about 7 1/2 inches long, measured from top point to top point, but we're going to have a 45-degree angle in them to be able to fit them over the top of the frame. So we're going to be moving that forward, 45-degree angle cut. Our rear hole needs to be about 1/2 inch center of the rear hole to the end of the riser. Furthest hole away is then going to be from the end of the riser to the center of the hole, 6 7/8 inch. So we have hole 1, 1/2 inch to the center, and hole 2, 6 7/8 inch. Then on the bottom, you'll want to make a 3/8 inch hole because the hole that comes in the metal itself and the bar may not be 3/8 inch. Just hit it again with the drill bit here and a little bit further in, 2 from the end on the far side. you'll need to cut notches in your cover plate.
Alright, well, only the torque converter is on there right now. Now let's see what only the torque converter will do, huh? Maximum speed 9. Woo! Yeehaw! A little bit of a skid there. Couldn't slow down before the bump. But, alright, 37.
Alright, on to governor removal. It isn't even necessarily something that you have to do. I mean, risks are going to be on your own. It doesn't really help with performance at this point. You don't have enough torque in your engine to launch yourself to a higher speed. If you do add additional things to improve your engine, yes, that governor removal will show you a significant difference, but at this case, you're not actually going to be getting much performance with it. Take a look at the tools, though, to get it going. An angled pick coupled with a hammer, 8 and 10 millimeter wrenches, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a needle nose pliers, a 5/16 inch tap. Loctite is at the top of our list, but we didn't mention it first, but Loctite, 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 Loctite. Now, after you remove the governor, you're going to want something like this, a nice pair of pliers, and something that you're going to be measuring because you need to make new throttle linkage. Think not really on the list, but a Cano compressed air, or something else that can blow out the debris after you tap the hole for the governor control arm once it has been removed. You're going to need some more oil because you're going to change out your oil, and you're going to need a 5/16 inch bolt, very short, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. Make sure that you drain the fuel and the oil out of the engine before you attempt this, and then you're going to be taking that side cover off. I recommend putting the engine kind of with the side cover up so your tappets don't come out and you don't have a problem later on with your valves coming off of the rods, your rockers coming off the rods, which is a common problem when people remove their governor. Why does it not start? One of the things is remove your valve cover and just check to see if one of the tappets came off, when the rods dropped down, and your rockers are no longer aligned. You can remove the little governor arm that goes up to the throttle control arm pretty easily if you get the piston in the right position. You don't have to break anything off, you don't have to cut anything in advance. Just make sure that your crankshaft is in the right position and you can wiggle that thing right out. I'm going to be taking a hammer to a pick. I'm going to be hitting the pick with the hammer really quick. Around the center of the gear is a little metal holding clip. You got to hit that clip with the pick to remove it. You'll be taking the needle nose pliers and kind of pulling that gear out of there. It goes pretty fast once you've done it a few times. When you put everything back together, make sure that your timing and your alignment from the cam to the crankshaft are right in line with one another. You're going to have two dots. You have to line those up perfectly. Make sure that the tappets haven't dropped down and everything else is in place. Tap the governor control arm. Clean the hole outwards of the crankcase and put the bolt in with Loctite and put the case cover back on. For the linkage, take the old linkage rod and mark as needed. It should be roughly 1 1/4 inch long by 3/4 inch tall. Remember to test throttle linkage before you put the torque converter on. Make sure that it doesn't get stuck, over rev, or not close all the way. You want to make sure everything opens and closes without unexpected action. Don't forget to add oil.
Alright, governor is now removed. We're going to see what's going on. Is if you notice the belt is not coming all the way up. You know, the belt is not coming all the way up where I want it to. So we may play around with this a little bit, but governor is now off. It is quite peppy, and I'm going to see if I can get better than 37 miles per hour on the top speed run here.
So why doesn't the governor removal actually do anything at this point? Well, there isn't enough torque to push your engine hard enough to be able to get that belt to come up all the way on the pulley. So the governor isn't being reached. Your RPM limit isn't being reached because the engine isn't strong enough to push you that far and that hard, which is why we now add a Stage 1 kit. Bink, all right, let's take a look at the tools that we need for the Stage 1 kit. You're gonna be looking at a 13 millimeter for that exhaust bolt. You're gonna be looking at a 10 millimeter or 10 millimeter socket on a drill. Loctite, believe it or not, back to Loctite, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a small flathead screwdriver. And that small flathead screwdriver is gonna be helping you change the jet. All right, Stage 1 parts. What are we going to need for those Stage 1 parts? You're going to be looking at a large air filter and one of those adapters that butts up right up against the carburetor. You're going to be looking at a breather filter, a size 38 jet, very important, you want your engine to be running properly. And you're going to be looking at some sort of an exhaust system. Now this particular header here is the one for Megamoto. So if you look up a Megamoto 200 1-inch pipe, and we have a small hole muffler coming off of that with a silicone wrap. Now the silicone wrap, if you run it the first couple of times, just note that that silicone wrap, the first couple of times you run it, is going to smoke. Additionally, you may want to pick up some fiberglass wrap for your muffler and wrap the muffler all the way up to the top, just so you don't get as much of a burn chance when you sit down on your seat. It's going to be coming pretty close to you. So you can take off your muffler with a 13 millimeter wrench and put on your new header with the silicone sleeve in place. Make sure that it does not touch the frame. You don't want to touch the frame with it, except how you're going to be securing it after all of the heat shielding is in place. The intake is pretty easy. It's just a 10 millimeter wrench. Pop off the whole intake. You're going to be putting on the new air filter. You're going to be putting on the breather filter for the valve cover, the tube coming off of the valve cover, and then you're going to be adding your 38 size jet. And you should be good after that. There isn't much to it. You should be tuned and ready to rock. So let's see what this thing can do.
All right, we got everything on. Let's see what she can do. I'm a bit low on gas, but oh, do I do it? Do I risk going on the open road? Alright, well that's a heck of a walk back, so I hope I didn't make the wrong decision. Yeah, I had to go on the road because I actually ran out of room. It really wants to take off a lot quicker now, so I got to take it on the open road because you can see here 42 miles per hour, and yeah, my little street wasn't even, it wasn't long enough. But now with the header, with the intake, with the, what is that, 38 jet, doing 42, and yeah, I had to take it out of the street because my little street, it just wasn't enough for this mini bike. Oh, 43. So it's getting up there. 43, doing 43. Woo! Punch it! Mini bike.
Well, that about sums it up, right, buddy? He says yes. But we've got almost double of our speed from out of the box. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day.